Welcome to Art Fight, the internet game that's only available during the month of July, where your only goal is to draw everyone else's OC. As we get closer to the month of July, let's just say that everyone else is really excited. Hi, I'm Rose, also known as Day by Day Creates on YouTube, and I'm more known for being an artist than being a writer. That would be because I don't write anything down. It's a flaw of mine, I know, especially because I do come up with vague stories for all my OCs when I'm not editing videos. Therefore, in this video, I'm going to do art fight preparations in the background while I tell you all about the stories of the first 12 OCs you see when you click on my art fight profile. I did do all of them, but I'm already having a hard time getting this video done on schedule as it is. And hey, if you're particularly interested in any of these characters, you can find them on Art Fight. The top character on my Art Fight profile this year is Aurora. She's always so fun to draw, and I believe her concept is very fun and unique. Truth be told, I already have her bio written out, so I'll read it out right now. This is Aurora. She's a ghost, but she's a ghost that interacts with technology in a fun way. She can possess just about any device with a screen, and pop in and out at will. However, she can only be out and about as long as the original device she came from has battery power left. She's kinda anchored to it in a way. When that battery dies, it's not that Aurora dies, but she gets forcibly returned to the device and has to power off and or sleep for a little bit while it recharges. But if the device is gone, Aurora's gone too, you know? Kinda puts a timer on things. But notably, she is still a ghost just like the rest of them, in the way where she used to be human once, you know? Personality-wise, she's a bit of a trickster. She's the type of ghost to try and scare anyone who enters her haunted house. But she's nice enough when you get to know her. She doesn't remember anything from her past life, the ribbon on her head being the one shred of familiarity she has. Also, in my mind, she moves around like a 2D VTuber model. Do with that what you will. That's our art fight profile finished, but here's a little footnote at the end. Though she lives in a computer, Aurora is not any sort of artificial intelligence. The topic of generative AI will be brought up later, and it won't be brought up flatteringly, let's just say that. She's a ghost in a computer, there's a difference! She was a person once! The second character here is Rue. I believe her redesign this year is a definite glow up from last year, and it aligns more with my vision of what she's like. Rue is one of the girls in my magical girl story. She's witty, energetic, and maybe even a little bit impulsive. She does gaming streams in her free time and has been averaging 3 viewers for 5 years. She has her fun despite the low view count, but perhaps she is starting to get burnt out. Rue is also childhood friends with the main character of the story, Penelope, who I'll get to later in this video. They play games together sometimes, with or without the stream. This will all circle back around, don't worry. If you've been following my Blue Sky account, you'll know that recently I made a breakthrough and finally figured out what the magical girls will be fighting, which gives me a lot more opportunities for writing. I'm going to keep it vague because I want to expand on this more in the magical girl video on July 16th, if the video you're watching comes out on time, that is. But these little things, which I call mimics for now because they like to mimic the things they see around them, are morally neutral until the villains in the series get their hands on them. The point is, I'm imagining a scene in my head where all the girls have like a neutral first encounter with a mimic. I mean, all neutral except for Rue. Rue gets her sandwich stolen and watches as her $15 meal gets eaten in one singular bite. I think it's really funny, but it would also maybe set up her being more aggressive towards them whenever they have to fight the possessed versions. Guys, I don't know what like the price point for a sandwich is. How's like $15? Is that normal? Is that ridiculous? I've never paid for a sandwich before. Celine also has a bio that I wrote previously before scripting this video, but there's less of it. Here's what I have so far. In a way, Celine is a bit of a contradictory character. Such contradictions are included but not limited to the fact that she's scared of ghosts, but she's the only one who can see ghosts. She's a pretty good photographer and videographer, I think that's the word, but she refuses to be on camera since she's also very camera shy. And she helped Finn during a hard time in his life, yet she feels like she owes him a favor instead of the other way around. And more. We love her though, despite her contradictions. I like to think that she is a likable character. Celine is a character who considers herself to have an average amount of confidence in her social skills, but she doesn't go out of her way to talk to people or ask for help too often anyway. That is until she sees Finn needing help or whatever, and they become friends and stuff. Evelyn's up next. The title's not concrete, but I call this story Apocalypse Girl for reasons that will become apparent in the next minute or so. The thing with Evelyn is that I already explained her entire backstory literally last video. I will place this clip here. TLDR about her story, she was someone admirable who did something good for humanity, I guess, so she was offered immortality. However, when she woke up, every possible climate disaster that could have possibly happened did so at the same time, wiping humanity, let's just say, off the map. I have decided that since I already explained her backstory, I'll go more in depth into her personality and her current situation this time around. Evelyn's core motivation is that she only ever wanted to help people. That's it, she never wanted anything else. With no more people to help, I can't imagine how she's feeling at this point. To try and cope, she helps out all the animals she sees whenever she's walking around. The main plot of this story is that Evelyn over here has to watch the consequences of climate change unfurl right in front of her, and how she chooses to navigate that kind of world. Evelyn chooses to keep going because she has this underlying belief that there's another immortal out there. There's another one, she just has to find them. It's a bit naive, she knows this, but she doesn't know if she doesn't try it. It's the only thing she can do at this point. I just came up with a sad concept while scripting this right now. What if she was like mute for a good long majority of the time before she was offered immortality? And when she wakes up, she tries to use her voice to ask what's going on, but she doesn't remember what it sounds like and gets surprised hearing her own voice? Just something to think about. Sandwiched between two of the sadder stories I've ever done, there's June. I've dubbed her story Plushie Panic for the time being, but yet again, it is prone to change. June is a wizard who specializes in what I call fabric magic. It's an extremely niched down type of magic that deals with the plushies that inexplicably come to life sometimes. That's magic, baby, oh yeah. There's totally a reason for this, I promise. I just have to, come up with said reason. To be clear, it also deals with anything that deals with things, basically as it says in the name, that are made of fabric, but the plushies are the only things that come to life. Everything else is like normal magic, I guess. An interesting little lore tidbit that I've come up with is that in this world, your eyes only get that little sparkle in it when you have figured out what you truly want to do in life. Not to be confused with the Magical Girl story, where the sparkle thing happens whenever you transform. Not to be confused with Aurora. Apparently I don't know how to pronounce her name. Who has sparkles in her eyes just because. I have a whole backstory arc in my head where June is in wizard college and she's the only student with no sparkles and she doesn't know what to do, only to find out one day that what she wants to focus in is a class that's been discontinued for like 10 plus years because of a lack of interest, which completely just shatters all expectations, her being an honor student though. So because of this, her and some teachers have to dig through old papers and ask an eccentric former teacher to help her out and mentor her, essentially just this one last time. Like her mentor figure to her, June is a sort of mentor figure to Noelle in a way. By the way, Noelle's the main character in this story, and is also a child who does not know anything about magic in the slightest. I don't really have Noelle's design really confirmed yet, just a little something for last year. Also, the names of the plushies are not set in stone yet. Ideally, one day I find a combination between one that sounds like a kid came up with it, and also one that's not. So embarrassing. So you know how I said earlier that June's story was sandwiched between two sadder stories? It's sad time! This is Dot. She's an astronaut, and she's about to watch the Earth explode. Yeah, no, I don't think that was very good for her. She's the main character of a story titled Space Mission 56. It's one of my shorter stories. Previously in Dot's life, she's been doing everything everyone says she should do. Being an astronaut is considered one of this society's highest priorities, even higher than right now. In my mind, there's one scene where Dot looks up at the stars as a kid, like neutrally, out of curiosity, and her parents take that as a sign to make her become an astronaut. So that's what she does, ignoring everything else but her studies. She succeeds and proceeds to go on her first space mission. Oops. No Earth! I think in this story, the reason for the Earth exploding in the manner that it does is some unspecified person. It's not even like I'm not saying who, just someone. I don't know who. It's not specified, that's why it says unspecified person. Got a little overzealous with the nuclear weapons. So, the story's not very long after that point. By that point, I mean the Earth exploding. About Dot herself as a person, she fights feelings of not being important enough, all the way up until it's too late and she's way too important, being one of the last surviving humans on the last surviving spaceship, and all that. Penelope is the main character of my Magical Girl story. She grew up watching magical girl anime, so she really leans into the role when she gets her transformation. Penelope is curious, a bit clumsy, and in all honesty, a little clueless. This is evident because her shoes are always untied, and her bag is always a little bit open, but she always means well and tries her best for her friends. She hates school though because she can never focus on whatever's being taught, especially so since the story started. She also does not know what she wants to do after high school, which is a problem because she's in junior year right now. I opened Notes app to search for character details, and apparently I made a note to myself that said, if she were to ever get into a clone situation, she wouldn't be able to convince anyone that she's the real Penelope. Don't know how that even came up in my mind in the first place, but now that is something to think about. Next up on the list is Katie. Luckily for me, I've made a video about Katie and her story before. There's a button in the top right corner linking to it if I remember to put that in. Katie's in the top 12 this year because of a drawing I did for next week's video. I don't want to have to use that speed paint just yet, so I'm either going to have to draw new Katie drawings during the editing phase of this video, or you're seeing an older version of Katie right now. Either way, you can spoil yourself on one of next week's drawings if you're curious. It's up on my art fight page. I watched the video I mentioned earlier just now when writing the script, and I realize now that the only word I used to describe Katie is anxious. Like, yes, she is that, you're not wrong, but perhaps I could have gone into a little more detail. As I was scripting, I found a Notes app note from this time last year that goes into detail about how Katie struggles to articulate her thoughts properly, and also how she previously wanted to go to college. I don't remember writing that down, but, you know, I might keep that. Mai is the main antagonist of her respective story, that being the battery life one with Aurora, Finn, and Celine. The acronym stands for main antagonist, I think. Just kidding, she's an artificial intelligence model, god fucking damn it. I intend to keep this brief because later next month I'm making a video essentially listing all the reasons why I want you to hate her as much as possible. But I don't want to make this section abnormally short, so here's how she was able to exist on Aurora's home computer in the first place. The way I see it, Aurora, whose name I still can't pronounce, who has now become friends with Finn and Celine at this point, are starting to run into some issues for something they are trying to do. Because of this, they start taking a closer look at the computer's settings and see that there's been some updates to the computer. Hoping to see improved results, they click the update button after a long discussion. Unfortunately, that is the opposite of what happens, as the first thing Mai does is label Aurora as malware and immediately holds her hostage. Everyone's panicking and they only narrowly manage to save Aurora. As they check to see if there was any other update to patch her out, get her to leave, they find out that they are unfortunately stuck with her, as that update was the last update supported for that particular computer model. You know how Microsoft's Copilot was just one day injected into everyone's computers? It's like the same thing. Next up is Allie. She's got her own thing going on because she is an alien. She has a little ship and she drives it around. If she has a story, I don't know what the plot would be, but I do know what the backstory is. It's kind of similar to Marina or just the Octolings in general from Splatoon, but specifically Marina because she gets out of there. I mean, literally, I made a whole design about it, and like, when she gets out, she gets happier, clearly. There is like a little art fight section. This is Allie and she is an alien. She has a spaceship that she runs and maintains all by herself. Oh yeah, there's like a little summary over here. I don't have her entire story fleshed out, but here's the shortest summary possible. She was drafted for an alien army, and as you'd see from that image of her from that time, she was having a bad time. She thought she was doing a good thing. After a while, she had some realizations, so she slipped away somehow, and she's been on the run ever since. The chibi's the most recent design because I just did the color slightly. She's a little more blue now, if you couldn't tell. Next up we have Irene, the time loop girl. She's in a time loop. You've met her last video, but here she is again in this one. So to explain how she got here, I actually wrote like a whole intro of like a webcomic for one of the 100 days. So how it went, it starts on New Year's and she like really wishes she had her friend group back. You know how like in New Year's it's like make a wish. Wait, no, that's birthdays. Well, maybe in her place, New Year's you make a wish. She says she wishes she had more time. So this something, whatever was giving her the time loop, it was watching. I don't know who or what gave her the time loop. I think when I figured that out, this case is gonna be cracked wide open, I'm telling you. But till then, whatever decided who gets the time loops, they're like, hey, you know what would be funny? And then she got sent to the area She got sent to the area, man. Watch out, you don't want to be sent to the area. Remember last video where I was talking about like that random dream pocket dimension? She was put there, and the thing was like, hey, you're in a time loop now. You're so lucky you don't want to leave, because you have so much more time now. All the meanwhile, Irene just stares with horror, because she wishes she had more time to like help fix her friend group, because her friend group had, I guess, some sort of friend group drama and drifted apart. And she wants that back, but they put her in a place where actually, no, you're just gonna live through the bad parts longer, and maybe you'll learn something, maybe you won't. Deal with it. And then she just has to, which is a little messed up, but now she's stuck in the time loop dimension. Rosemary, 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 oh boy. Oh, you could hear that. That's the sound of me rubbing my hands together. Oh boy. She has gone through so many changes. There's so much I could say. But I'm gonna talk about the new stuff. So what happens is that she was like a prince for a moment, and she was next in line, and she was going through training, and like she accidentally learned some horrible kingdom secret, and plus the fact that she's expected to be male presenting for the rest of her life, she's like, I can't do this anymore. And she jumps out a stained glass window, fakes her own kidnapping, runs to a forest. Actually, no. I've decided I'm gonna change this on the spot. She makes a disguise and runs to the nearby town, but not like so nearby, because there's a town around the castle, but like she went a little farther than nearby, but kinda close. So she runs there in her disguise, and basically, this part's very new. The royal family are all dragons now. She's a dragon, and she just ran away. So she has to hide that. She makes it real ambiguous, but like also the horns are sticking out of her head. Also, dragons have these distinct pupils, but Rosemary's eyes are so dark you can't tell that she has any pupils except for like a little purple tint to them. But also she's been gone so long, she looks so different from the prince who ran away, and also she's like very charismatic now. So like I think there's this thing where it'd be like she just inexplicably gets her way in a grand majority of all her social interactions, just kind of like as a charisma thing. I also imagined some reveal where she reveals it that she's a dragon. I mean, the horns, I guess demons would have to be a thing for the horns to show up and look not obvious. Or like anything with those shapes on the head would have to exist. It's interesting to think about. That nearby town is where she meets Runa. She's like a rebellion something. And I think Runa would notice that maybe she would be unfamiliar or suspiciously similar to, you know, that runaway royal. The title of the story is Runaway Royal, by the way. Because the royal, let's just say, they run away. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope also that I get this video out on time. Should be out by the 25th, I hope.